So, folks, as requested, I'm kind of going to give you a look at how I do my research for determining if a game's going to be over 2.5 goals or not. You'll need to forgive me because it's in the middle of games that have been played, so I might get notifications popping up every now and again. But from my screen, you see all the various apps I've got. The simplest way for me is, and the quickest way, is I use the FOTMob app, which is a really good app. I've used it for quite a few years. So what I'll show you first of all is how the app looks, and then what I'll do is I'll go through, first of all, a game that I think will be over 2.5 goals, and then I'll show you a game and how I do my research is to see that a game won't be over 2.5 goals. So going to FOTMob first. So it's a nice, clear looking app. Gets all your games, tells you what leagues it's in and so forth, and you've got different days. So we'll go for tomorrow, which is Saturday. What I like to do as well is that you'll see the favourites section up here. What I try and do is, if I notice like a team like say Geylang International, so if I go into that, you'll see that this team, if I click on, it's got an alert up here. So what I try and do is, if I notice when I'm doing my research that a team has had 5 games in a row, the last 5 games have had over 2.5 goals, which Geylang have here, what I'll do is I'll click this little star up the top, and it's just a really good indicator for me that the next time when I'm doing research, it will go straight into my favourites, because these teams are more likely to score over 2.5 goals or have over 2.5 goals in their games. So that's a good little tip to kind of keep you going to start with. So the 2 games that I'd identified was this first one from Wales, which is Haverfordwest versus TNS, which is the New Saints. So if we click on this, so again, it just shows you the teams in the first screen. And what you do is, I would go into the first team, which is the home team. So Haverford, when you look at the last 5 matches, the games, the league tables, the league's just started fairly recently. So there's only 2 games. Again, not too fantastic for over 2.5 goals. You know, and nothing each draw, 2-0 defeat away from home. Doesn't look that fantastic, but it's also important to look at both teams. So when you look at TNS, last 5 games, they've got a star already. The last 5 games, all over 2.5 goals. As you can see, you've got 6 goals, 6 goals, 4 goals, 5 goals, 8 goals. These are the kinds of teams that you're looking for when you're looking for over 2.5 goals in a game. Another little feature as well is that I'll look for is, as you can see, they're the away team in this. So I'm looking and saying, right, okay, they won 4-1 away from home. The rest of them have been home. If you look at this game here, they're the away side, they get beat 3-1. But if you click on that game, it shows you what the game is. It was a European game, and they get beat 3-1. But they did actually win the home game 4-2. So goals, whatever way it is. So I'm happy with that. Next thing I'm looking for is the league table. As you can see, second in the league after only two games. They've scored 9. They've also conceded 4, which is good as well, because you want 2 teams more likely to get 3 goals if 2 teams score. Both teams to score is your key to getting a higher percentage of over 2.5 goals. So second top, if you move down, it's only a 12 league team. 12 team league. What you can see, Haverfordwest have only got 1 point. They've had 1 draw, one loss. They've not scored any goals, and they've only conceded 2 goals. What I'm really looking for is this gap. I'm looking for a gap, because what I find is if you've got the 2 teams playing quite close to each other, so if TNS were playing Connah's Quay, I probably wouldn't go for it even with the stats, because it's probably more likely to be a tighter game, less goals, usually under 2.5 goals. So what I would probably go for is I'm looking for a gap in the table. The next section that you can see is head to head. Now there's a lot of tipsters will say to you, oh, head to head doesn't matter, this could have been a game from 10 years ago, blah, blah, blah. That's not really what I'm looking for. I'm looking for patterns. So as you can see, the last two games, another good feature of FotMob as well is they give you win percentage rates. So they've only 17% win rate in the head-to-heads, whereas TNS, who we know are the better team by the looks of it, have got an 83% win rate. Actually, the last time they played at home, Haverfordwest actually beat them 2-1. So again, I'm looking back and we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 out of the last 6 games have been over 2.5 goals between the teams. And the last one that wasn't was 2015, 2-0. So it was probably close. So that's a really good indicator, and I would probably go with that. But what I would next do is double check it for a bit more stats. So what I try and use is another app, Flash Score. So on this one, again, you can go into what day it is. So I'm going for Saturday. I put it up here as a favourite. So again, the benefit of this app is if you go in, you're going to get more data. So here, whereas it was only last 5 games in FotMob, this one you've got countless games kind of thing. And again, they don't score much, they don't win much. So that's an indicator that they could get beat by a much better side. Then you've got TNS, lots of wins, lots of big scores, perfect. That's exactly what you're looking for. What you can also see in this one is head-to-heads. So again, last 5 matches for each of them. But then in terms of head-to-head, you can go back as long as you want. So if you're looking for more data, you can go into this app. It's quite good. And as you can see, I think in the last 10 games, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 out of the last 10 games have been overs. So again, this is perfect for me. That's going to tell me this is more likely to be an over 2.5 goals game. So the next part is picking a game and understanding that it might not be over 2.5 goals. So avoiding it for Iraka. And the game that I kind of picked to highlight this was a Liverpool game. So 2 big teams, a lot of action. You're thinking, wow, 2 great teams, this could be a goal fest. It's a common mistake to make. When you actually break it down, again, last 5 matches, yeah, it looks good, they're winning. But when you look at it, there's only 2 games that they've actually scored over 2.5 goals. When you look at Chelsea, 1, 2, 3 games that they've scored over 2.5 goals. So again, they're winning a lot, but there's not that many games. When you look at the table, 2 of them right next to each other. Although the goal difference looks good, you're looking at 5-0, 5-0 for both of them, so quite an identical record. It's more likely to be a closer game because they're so close together, it'll be tight. When you look at the head-to-head, last 2 games, no over 2.5 goals. They have this anomaly here where you've got Liverpool winning 5-3, but again, look at the date, July kind of thing. It's near the end of the season. All the other games, when you look, there's very few of them over 2.5 goals. So when you look in Flash Score, you'll get more data again. If you look at Liverpool, yes, lots of wins, but in actual fact, they don't win big in that many games. If you look at the last 10 games, 1, 2, 3 times they've had over 2.5 goals. That's not great. They might win a lot, but they don't slaughter teams. Chelsea, when you look at their last 10 games, yeah, they've got a better record. So you've got one, this is a game against Weymouth, so I'm not going to include that one. This one's after, finish one each, so you can rule that one out. And you've got a few more here. So again, they always win, or they mostly always win, but they're not scoring tons of goals. So again, this would be a reason why I wouldn't pick this for a over 2.5 goal ACCA. And that's pretty much it. This is how I pick my teams. I'll go through every league. I mean, this is just my favourites. That's 17 games that I'll still research every single one, and even though the last 5 games might have been over 2.5 goals, I'll still check them, because sometimes you need to look away from the stats and go, do you know what, I've got a lot of injuries, so forth and so forth. So there's other factors that you need to factor in, but that's the basics of it. Hope you liked that. If you did like that one, I'll maybe try and do another video where I talk about how I work out a bet builder. Okay, thanks folks.